Right, folks, you're on Radio FM 88 Australia, and nothing surprises me better than on a Thursday night, which is a Thursday morning over there in the UK, to have Andrena speak to two fantastic females who are into natural health solutions, and that's the show tonight. So, without any further ado, Andrena, hand it over to you.
Thank you, Jeffrey. Hello, everybody, and welcome to Dreaming the New Dream. And today is the 15th of 2nd, 2024. So happy Valentine's for yesterday for those lovely ladies and gentlemen, maybe. Right. You know that I'm passionate about health and I love anything to do with health. And there's many levels to do with health. And I know when you don't feel well, it's all about listening to your body or finding the right practitioner who can help you. And like I always say, you cannot go into a health shop and buy £20 worth of health. So we've got two lovely ladies here today. We've got Esther Thomas and Jackie Ludwig. So welcome, both of you. And it's a pleasure to have you on the show.
Thanks. Pleasure to be here.
And I know, like, between you, you've got many, many, many years of experience of health. And I know Esther is the proud owner of Olia Holistic Care. And you've got an interesting story because Jackie worked first before you came along, and you've bought the business, and now you're growing and glowing. So without further ado, who would like to start first? Because I know we've talked about, so who would like to start the journey first?
Jackie.
Sure, I'll jump in first if that's all right.
Yeah, no, that's fine. So welcome.
Thanks, Andrena. Yeah, first of all, it would be lovely if you could go in and buy £20 of health. Wouldn't that be simple? Wouldn't be as interesting, though, but certainly do agree you're right. So I just wanted to give you a bit of a rundown as we're having a chat this evening and starting to talk about all things natural health, about what brought me into it. Obviously, it's something that you are drawn to and would like to do. So it's something I grew up with in my family, always using natural health solutions as first line options and using them for health. So it's pretty natural for me. I didn't start down this path. I began at university studying other degrees, beginning another degree, found it a little bit boring and began to do a summer school subject on the side in massage, which I loved. Found my way to help people, and that led me into, instead of going straight into massage, into naturopathy. So from there, I haven't looked back. Didn't complete the other degrees, so I haven't looked back, completing a Bachelor of Health Science in naturopathy, and then going on to upgrade to a diploma in remedial massage as well. So my journey has been mostly in Brisbane, just local, fairly local here, travelling to different areas of Brisbane, working in a variety of different setups, health food store, clinic situations, as well as chiropractic clinics, and now a multimodality clinic here in Springwood in Brisbane, Australia. So I must say I've had the pleasure of working alongside a number of different practitioners, from chiropractors, other naturopaths, acupuncturists, iridologists along the way. And really, I have learned a lot from working with those people, as well as from the people that I've seen. I find that that's probably the biggest thing, is meeting the amazing people that I see on a day-to-day basis in clinic as well. Everyone has an amazing story, really, and with where they've come, everyone who I see in natural health is interested in looking after their health and taking responsibility for their health, which is really great and aligns with what we do and what we want to do. So it just really makes you want to help people in whatever way you can. So keeping it with all the information and knowledge is just our way of being able to help people find what they need then along the way. So I've had natural medicine has helped a number of my family members through things from nervous breakdowns back in the days when nothing was there to be done about it, to back we're talking mid-1900s there, so from way back in the family, to my own personal journey with skin disorders that couldn't be resolved through medicine, but And at first I couldn't resolve it myself with naturopathy, but through working with and seeing other naturopaths along my journey as well, managed to resolve it quite quickly in the end when we worked out what it was. So it's been a pleasure to be able to pass that on and help other people with things like that on their journey as well. So I've been here at Olea Health for a number of years, and very recently I've met Esther along that journey, and we began to work together just last year. So it's been fairly short, but I think we get along well. We work along the same lines, and it's been a pleasure getting to know her and working with her. So I might quickly jump over and let Esther tell you her story of how she got to be here too before we start to talk about more what we do.
Yeah. Thank you, Jackie. That's lovely. Okay. Well, welcome, Esther, and looking forward to hearing how you started your journey.
Well, my journey is probably a little bit longer, but I guess for me, where it started was when I was 14. I went from being age champion at school, really sporty, really fit, to all of a sudden not being able to get out of bed. I had significant fatigue, and at that time, chronic fatigue wasn't really super recognized as a thing. And so I really struggled with going from like sport being my favorite subject and all of those things at school to really struggling in my health. And I went to the doctors and they did some blood tests on me and basically couldn't find anything in my blood tests, and just kind of labeled it as it's teenage, she's just a teenager, and bit of laziness and all of those things, which obviously for me wasn't a good enough answer, because for me and for my whole family, they could see such a massive change in my health. And so then I just started Googling some things, diet, lifestyle. I started to make a few changes in my diet, and then a few years later, so that really helped me, and I was able to go back to school, but wasn't 100%. And then I started to see a naturopath myself, and I didn't even know what a naturopath was at the time. And pretty much as soon as I went, I felt so heard. And so validated that my symptoms weren't normal, and that there were things that you could do about it. At the time, I think doing my research as a teenager, I pretty much self-diagnosed myself with chronic fatigue syndrome, because I was like, well, all of my symptoms are lining up with this. And then many years later, the doctors ended up diagnosing me with that, which I, of course, already knew that that's what I had. But then working with the naturopath, there was so many light bulbs going off in my mind. And I was like, wow, these things we're not being taught. How come we don't know about these things? And so I just grew my passion. And then after I finished school, I worked in community services work and worked with primary age children, supporting them at school, which I really loved. And I thought that I would be in that community services space for a while. But then I just kept on finding myself researching more natural things. I found myself, making water kefir and fermented things at home, and just really getting into it more. And so basically I kind of one day prayed, to be honest, God, is this what I'm supposed to do? Or is this just a passion? And actually that night I had a really significant dream that really confirmed to me that was what I was meant to do. And then I got offered a position to work in a naturopathic clinic as a receptionist, which kind of came out of the blue, and I wasn't expecting it. And it was on the exact days that I could do it, and everything just lined up. And it was just so clear that was what I was meant to do. So I ended up studying a degree in it's a Bachelor of Health Science, specializing in naturopathy. And then, so now here we are. And really enjoying running Olea Health, and loving the challenge of working with patients with lots of complex health conditions. That's our little clinic there. So it's a beautiful little calm and relaxing space. And so that's kind of my journey of how I've come to where I am now.
Wow, fantastic. So do you one of you like to share about naturopathy? What is it all about for people that don't know?
You can go for it, Jackie.
Sure. Let me know if I get too carried away here. But yeah,
it's all good.
With naturopathy, what we aim to do is we're just really looking to support the body's natural healing mechanisms, the ability of the body to be well, to be in balance. Our bodies are designed and they are built to heal. They're built to be well. They're built to keep going. There's sometimes we push our bodies too far if we're not listening to our bodies in certain ways. A little bit like what Esther was talking about. We've all probably experienced it at times, maybe a number of different times in different ways, when we don't know things and we're not aware of, and we just keep pushing through in a certain direction, when we needed to rest, or when we needed to adjust our nutrition, or when we needed to change something or support a different system in our body will adapt, it will cope, it will keep going, but it doesn't mean it goes well. Because everything is so intricately linked and it's just so dynamic and so complex. Having come from the background with the Bachelor of Health Science, I think we tend to be a little bit of biochemistry nerds in that sense of understanding how it all works, with the different feedback systems and loops and things like that, and how it all really affects each other. So we look to just support those different areas, and we try to get the body back to balance and back to that homeostasis that it's always looking for. Every single day, our body is interacting with its environment, with the different microbes in the environment, different temperatures, all the different things we're experiencing, as well as on not just on that physical level, but on an emotional and on a spiritual level. We're interacting with people, with our environment, and that all affects us over time. So I think we need to look at considering all of that as well. Imbalances in any or all of those areas can make us unwell. So we have a lot of different ways that we support, but our goal is balance and supporting homeostasis there, so which is always changing. So just once you feel great, that doesn't mean that doing exactly what you're doing for the rest of your life is going to make you keep feeling great. We do need to adapt, we need to adjust, and we need to keep working. So we need to rethink things sometimes about what we need and where we're at.
Definitely.
And sometimes we need support in doing that. Sometimes we can realize it ourselves, and sometimes we need support to talk to someone else and get that outside perspective, and sometimes that knowledge of that other person to be able to help us through and get that balance again. So there is, and I might handball over to you, Esther, if you wanted to talk about the different, I guess, principles that we practice with naturopathy. There's a set of principles that we talk about and that we are guided by with our treatments that sometimes differentiates us a little bit from other areas of healthcare and that side of things. So.
Okay, over to you, Esther.
Yeah, well, like Jackie said, definitely a strong belief in that not everyone is the same and can't be treated the same, and there's so many different aspects that affect our health. And this is where sometimes the whole marketing of these miracle tablets can come into play here, of like, this will cure this will fix this. But really, as naturopaths, we look at you as an individual person. We look at what's going on in your life, what's going on in your your home situation. What are you eating? What's your lifestyle like? What is your spiritual practices? Where's your emotional health at, and how these are interacting with you? We might go into it a little bit later, but also looking at your constitution and different ways that your body is showing different signs in that sense as well. So that's, I guess, where we're really unique, is looking at you as an individual and treating you that way. And that's why our consultation process is longer, because we really try and get really in-depth insights into what's going on for you. So coming into our naturopathic principles, first, do no harm is the first one, and I think that's quite across the board. You know, doctors and things like that try and adhere to this as well. But the second one is the healing power of nature. So we really believe that that there is so much richness in nature to be able to heal our bodies. And if you have studied the science of plants, then your mind will just be so blown at how many constituents are involved in plants and how they work synergistically together to bring healing in your body. It's actually so fascinating, and there is so much in nature to be able to utilize. But also within that is also that our body has the amazing capacity to heal itself as well, if given the right tools. And there's so many amazing documentaries out there that talk about this as well, and people have so many unique stories. But the power of the mind, the power of thought, and the power of rest and foods and plants and all of these things that can bring healing to our bodies. And our body's always trying to heal itself, and that's the beautiful thing. I remember reading a quote a few years ago of every time we eat, we have an opportunity to give our body the tools it needs to heal or to bring disease. And every time that we go about our day, that we eat, that we're stressed, that all these things are happening, our body is working hard to try and heal, and we just need to give it the tools that it needs. And so the next one is identify and treat the cause. And this is really, I guess, what sets us apart. We're not looking at just trying to treat your symptoms. Obviously, that's a goal along the way, that your symptoms will reduce. And usually, you know, a lot of the times we see this happen quite quickly. For some people, it can take a bit longer. But we're looking at the underlying cause of what is actually causing that. And one of the key questions that I ask my patients all the time is, was there something significant in your life that happened at the time that your symptoms started? And I would say, at least 80% of the time, there is something that's going on, whether it's in their life, something emotional going on, something spiritual, a physical move to a different place, or whatever it might be. And so when we're looking at the cause, we're actually looking at so many different aspects. Not just, okay, there's something going on with your blood pressure. Okay, it's, you know, your heart, or is the valve going on or something like that. But we're actually looking at other aspects of what's going on underneath. And we're trying to treat the root cause of what that is, so that you can have long-lasting health into the future and not just have temporary symptom relief. And that's really our goal. And sometimes, like I said, this happens quickly, and other times this is a process. Step by step, and a little bit of trial and error sometimes as well, because everybody responds differently.
Sometimes it even surprises us. It's quicker than we expect with the healing, yes. Because the body can be so amazing. So
yeah.
Sorry to interrupt.
No, that's great. I was actually saying to Jackie today, one of my patients, she's had sinus issues her whole life, and she's tried so many over-the-counter things and all these different things, and she's in her 60s now and never had any relief. And I started her on one particular supplement, and she has no sinus issues anymore after just that one supplement. And I said to Jackie, I even surprised myself how quickly that worked. But this is the key thing. And for her, I could see that there was excess histamines in her body. So we did a process of clearing out those histamines, and her symptoms reduced. And so this is why naturopaths, we're continually picking up little key things that people are saying through the consultation process to be like, okay, we can see there's a little bits going on here, making up a whole puzzle piece of what's going on for you. Which is super cool.
We are like a puzzle, aren't we, really? You know, you sort of all these different pieces, and like you say, you've treated somebody with something, and like that that piece of puzzle slipped in so quickly, you know,
Yes.
whereas you're still trying to put the rest in, and there's so many aspects to the body. And I mean, another thing is listening to the body as well.
Yeah.
You know, some people can get the message straight away and understand what's going on. And it's like, say, blood pressure. Well, I say to people, you know, they're taking blood pressure pills, because obviously I try to do everything as natural as possible, but you know, other people have their place, but not my first choice. But where, you know, like they talk about their blood pressure pills and what have you, and they said, well, blood pressure, what's bubbling away under the surface? What has been going on for a long time that you haven't dealt with? You know, it's like another aspect is the emotional, isn't it, of what's going on, and then and like you say, you go back to somebody said, well, my, you know, my partner walked out on me, or something made you really angry, and they've not dealt with it, and it's like really still under the surface, isn't it?
Absolutely.
And you're right, some people do almost know exactly what they need when they come in, and they, as you're unraveling and delving into it, they're almost telling you what they need at times, and we just, you know, tweak a few things that can make that difference from what they've already been trying. Other times it's just, you know, someone's lost, or they're completely unaware of that something's happening, could be affecting their health in some sort of way as well. So it's always good to be able to help people see what's going on, and it always makes so much sense to them as well, which is helpful, because if people can understand what's going on in their health and understand their body, they can manage their health, and that's what it's about. Back to that continually changing balance of homeostasis all the time is we all want to, and well, we all want to and should be able to help manage our health and keep it on track as best we can.
Yeah. What do you find is the most, I mean, I know you do when you're, so if you run us through a consultation, do you take blood samples in the first consultation just to check, you know, so can you run us past what happens there?
Yeah, well, we do talk a lot in a consultation. We ask a lot of questions, and that's a lot to start with, because we do want to get to know you and we'll get to know your system. And sometimes there's a lot to get to know. Sometimes it's more brief, depending on the age and where people have, how their lives have played out so far. But after we've got a lot of information from people, we also use their body signs to tell us what's going on. So we want to see what their actual body is telling us. So that's where we have some other naturopathic tools, we call them, that help us to see what might be happening. So we use a number of those sorts of things. One thing we do is things like tongue analysis, where we look at the tongue, and that's something that can change quite often as what's happening. That brings us back to some of our roots in the ancient medicine as well, some of these things, where we can get signs of dryness, heat, those sorts of things, some of those more humoral type things back in Hippocratic type times, the terminology that they used more so, that's used in different forms of healthcare and different types of TCM, Ayurveda, those sorts of things. And practices as well. So we do that sort of thing. We can do small blood pricks and look at some cells under the screen to have a screening process that can give us an idea if the body needs, so something like this picture, so we can see the cells, the red blood cells and the white blood cells. And from that small idea there, with training I've had to see what they should look like, we can get a bit of an idea if there's could be underlying inflammation happening in the system. It only gives us so much information. We have to use our other skills then to also be able to work out where could that inflammation be? What else could be contributing to this? What else could be happening here to make that? So, and that's why we also continue to use then other tools. We look at nails as well to see the nutritional health and of the body as well. And even iris analysis I find is a big one. Back to what Esther was mentioning about our different constitutions. And I think a lot of people who have been around in the natural health industry or area for a little while, or interested in natural health, have probably heard of constitutions. in some form of another. They're very big at different levels in homeopathy, Ayurveda, different types of modalities there as well. But we probably tend to look at the iris analysis a lot to get a constitutional type, which gives us an idea of what that body might be more prone to, what areas might be more overactive in the system, what areas might be more underactive, where strengths are, weaknesses, that sort of thing as well. So some of that can be inherited to the person, and some of that can be lifestyle guided or just part of that person's makeup as well. So that gives us a good idea of, again, like Esther was saying, everyone needs to be treated differently because every body is different. Having a look at getting an idea of someone's constitution lets us know how we can approach and how to best get results for them, what they need. And that can be very different. So, for instance, something simple, as I mentioned, say sinus before, and over the years of practice, just thinking about it, people have so many different causes, so many different reasons for having chronic sinusitis or sinus infections or problems there as well. So some people can find resolution through herbal medicine, and again, different herbs for different things. There is some people through nutritional support, looking at skin barrier healing and tissue support there. Other people dietary. So like you were mentioning, Andrena, with sometimes you'll eat something straight away from a sneeze or a feeling in your throat or a tickle or a cough that might not be in a true allergy as such, but something's not quite right there with that food in your system there as well, even though it might be a wonderfully healthy food.
Yeah.
And we also then need to narrow down, is it the sourcing of the food, things that might be on the food, or is it the actual food and the natural chemical components of that food that could be creating a reaction in the body.
And you really got to look at the labels now, haven't you, in food, because there's a lot of hidden, like I mentioned previously, we know there's a lot of insects being brought in and under a different label, which doesn't just say, well, that's that insect and that number is that insect. It's like a broader picture of a job lot of whatever in something. And I know because I'm a veggie, and I look at some of these plant-based foods, and then when you look at all the fillers and starches and so many things, and it's like, I don't think I want that, But and I know there's little books you can get that tell you what everything, like what emulsifiers mean or what a certain number is. But it's like quite an education when you read it. And I read a lot of labels now. I'm sort of like over here, rapeseed oil is in everything, and palm oil still, and it's like but anyway, so what guidance could you give to people, because like people get rashes on their skins, or they've got fungi toenails and things like that, and they sort of let it go on and don't think it's anything until at some point these things get worse. But I'm never putting stuff on the outside, but not looking because it's coming from outside, inside out.
That's right, exactly. That's needing the holistic, and sometimes for a rash you might want a cream to soothe it or something like that that's itchy or dry. But often the skin can represent things that are happening on the internal skin, so what's happening on the inside, especially often related to what's happening in the digestive tract or the digestive system, we tend to find. There can be certainly other factors as well, things like stress. It can be as simple sometimes as a contact reaction as well, of something that someone hasn't picked up, like you were saying with labels. It might be a skincare product or something that you might use the same one even, but they've changed the ingredients and there's something in there that isn't agreeing with you. So but there is quite a process to go through to really work out something, especially like skin. because there's so many different angles that could be irritating it. And it can be very overwhelming to try and do yourself as well at times. Especially when it comes, if you narrow it down to think, is it something I'm eating? It can be very overwhelming to think, well, what can I eat? Because I need nutrition, I need to get my macronutrients, I need my micronutrients. But what if I can't eat amines? What if I can't eat salicylates? What if it's the gluten? What if it's the dairy? You can't stop eating everything all the time to work out. Although sometimes an elimination diet can be very helpful, as I found, as identifying problems there. It also can be very difficult to do in this day and age, especially lots of things being hidden, and sometimes it can be harder for some people who aren't used to always just having just fresh food as well. So it's not always an easy thing to just adjust to and a quick thing.
Yes, and I think as well, another thing that we do often for people is do tests for them. So we can look at things like food intolerance. We can actually do tests on their gut to look at their microbiome. Is there an overgrowth of bacteria? Is there candida in the gut? All of those types of things. We can look at your urine, your hair. We can look at heavy metals, your vitamins, nutrients, all of those things. We do quite comprehensive testing. And very in-depth to kind of get an idea as well of what's going on. So that's really great that we can do that sometimes, because like Jackie said, doing something like an elimination diet can be really challenging, especially if it takes a long time. Whereas sometimes if we can test actually what is showing up in your blood as that your body's not reacting well to it, it can make things a little bit easier to be like, okay, I'm testing quite high for gluten. I do actually need to cut that out. Or it could be something random like tomatoes or, so that's another tool that we can do as well, which is really helpful.
How long is a consultation? Because, like say I come in and I'm covered in a rash or something, and then obviously you've got to ask lots of questions, to sort of fine tune a little bit what's going on in my life and like what. So how long is your consultation for the first time?
Yeah, so our first consultation goes for about an hour. And within that, we try to do all of the examinations as much as we can that Jackie had talked about, as well as the questioning. I usually do a lot of physical examinations as well. So I'll do stomach palpations, I'll do listen to your chest, I'll do blood pressure, all of those things as well. And always try to stick within the hour, but it can often go longer. But then we do try to encourage a follow-up not too long afterwards, which generally the follow-up consultations go for around half an hour. We don't have to dive into quite as much stuff, but we can check in and say, hey, how is this going? How are you responding? Is anything new come up? So we do try to check in, and I guess that's one of the I guess naturopathic tools is that we try and really journey along with you. That's one of our principles is doctor as teacher, and we really don't want to just give you some supplements and send you on your way and hope for the best, but we do want to journey with you on your health, because sometimes it can take more than overnight to treat what's going on.
Right.
Yeah.
And that's a pretty intense hour in that initial consultation for people. Often people are pretty zonked by the end of it. We've asked them questions from a long time ago and a lot about themselves, and then we've given them a lot of information about what their body is telling us as well at the end there, and then usually given them a bit of an action plan to get started. So it all happens pretty concisely for us. We try to I guess both having been there and having come from personal journeys as well, we know that you just want to get started when you want to go and see someone. You want to get onto it, work out where to start from. So we like to have people moving with an action plan of how they can get started, and then you follow up, reassess, see how it's all going.
Yeah, you always lead with something.
So you've got some homework essentially when you leave all the time.
The fact that they've taken the step to come to you is is like step number one, and then obviously it's following the guidelines. And like for some people, like you've got to give up wheat, you've got to give up dairy, and there's so many things. And then like, you know, you take bread away and people don't know what to eat, and then of course that includes biscuits and cakes, and you know, it's, you know, if you're really suffering, then it's quite a lifestyle change to eliminate. And I know we buy ancient grains because like wheat bloats us out and all sorts of things. So, you know, you just really need to try to fine tune what you're eating all the time to what's triggering. And like I said to you, you know, I can react with a sneeze straight away. I might drink something different, and next thing I'm sneezing about 5 times. I think, oh God, what's in here that my body doesn't like, you know? And so it's, you know, it can be quite a lifestyle change, and not everybody, I think, it can be quite a shock, can't it, what's going on in the body? But it just depends how well you want to be to clear all what's bubbling away inside, clear out your system, you know, because I know there's, you know, you can have enemas and all sorts of things, but unless you take action to eliminate what's going on inside, then it's just like a circle, and it's just going round and round.
It is, and it's not very often that people will probably come to us with the very first sign of something in their nail. You know, usually people have thought, oh, I'll just try this. Oh, that didn't work. I'll just try this. Oh, that didn't work. And, sometimes what they have tried, they might be on the right track, like you said, for some dietary changes, but maybe not quite in the right combination or not for long enough. So that's why we find that if people have tried a few things, if we can use some of that more functional pathology testing, it can help guide us and get them to the end result a bit quicker there, where they want to be. So, and also some people come as a last resort or near last resort as well. That's quite common. And that might be a case of they've exhausted a lot of options. But if we start to talk about things like, okay, we want to start to cleanse the body, we want to start to do a detox to clear things out, that can be very confronting for people as well. We're aware of, so we like to be able to explain it, break it down, what does that involve, and that's where we adjust it for everyone a little bit differently. Again, if you've been around natural medicine, natural health a bit, you might be familiar with your way or what you've done that's worked for you over time. But we like to break it down to where people are at as well. So for some people, that might be one food change that we just look at for a month or for a few weeks, and that can make massive changes in a body. But then we have to make sure the body's keeping up with that, supporting it. So on top of making that change, do they need to be moving more to stimulate lymphatic and get everything pumping through and get that moving and dealing with those changes? They need then we help them get better sleep, so that during that sleep time their body can repair and restore as well during that time. So we try to be that's where the complexity and the address the causes comes in a very layered approach, and often one step at a time as well. So if you're doing it yourself, you might think, oh, I'll try this, and that cream helped clear that skin thing up, fantastic. And then it comes back another month later, and it takes a little bit longer for the cream to work this time. From our point of view as naturopaths, that would be suggesting there's something imbalanced. We need to look at what this is. How can we look at rebalancing and getting this on track? Do we need to look at stress that's happening? Do we need to look at diet or dietary changes, or the way that the body's processing what you're eating? So the digestive system and the way that's working as well. More so than just, oh, it'll be right, just put some more cream on it, just keep going.
I know I had something, we were out, I can't quite recall where in the last couple of weeks, and and my stomach was gurgling away, and I thought, oh my God, I mean, I don't know quite what was going on, but all I could hear was, my stomach's not happy, very sorry.
That's right.
And we do live in a toxic world, you know, we've got, you know, patterns all over the sky, well, over here anyway, more so being an island, And then the water, is not, pure water. So, I mean, I've got a distiller and I put mine through a system, but then I have to make sure I got the right minerals to put that in as well. So, and you can taste the difference in the water. And there are drops and things you can add to your waters and all sorts, but and I suppose the biggest thing, because they say about your bowel, your gut, is your brain. Some people say it's your second brain, and some people say it's your first. And I think, well, it's funny because I think, well, I don't think of my brain being down there. I think. So, what would you recommend to help people, to have like a good clear bowel movement? Because I know a lot of people suffer, and again, it could be diet, or they're not letting go of things, and the emotional. So so it goes back to, what guidance would you give to people to help their bodies, and then they can go and see somebody like yourselves if they're not changing anything.
And I think, you go.
That's all right, you go for it.
There's so many different factors that can be, like you said, causing those bowel issues. Like looking at diet and those kinds of things is a part of it. Another thing that often can cause us to have sluggish bowels is our liver actually not detoxifying properly. And we have 3 levels of detoxification in our liver. And if it's not cleansing properly, if it's not getting rid of those toxins, we can have that build up in our body as well. And so often giving liver support is really important. And I mean, we can do this through many different ways, through certain foods that stimulate the liver. Thinking about bitter foods, those things that stimulate the liver secretions to break, to get rid of those toxins out of the liver. We often use herbal medicine as well. And, slippery elm is really trending at the moment. You've probably heard of it. It's a really good one, which often helps people with their bowels as well. But it's really looking at not just, getting your bowels to cleanse, because a lot of the patients that we see, are taking daily fiber and things like that are not necessarily natural fibers and things like that. So we actually are trying to get to what is causing that sluggish bowel. And like you said, it can be emotional things as well. It can be not drinking enough water, not having enough minerals. There are so many things that can cause that. And I think movement is a big one as well. We live in an environment where we're sitting down so often. And I don't know if you've ever experienced where you've gone for a big old walk and then you have a bowel motion afterwards. And because your body is actually loving that, it needs that movement. And I think a lot of the time, and hemorrhoids is a big thing as well. And that often can come from sitting down for a long time as well, and just having lots of pressure on that area. And our bodies are made to move. So if you're having constipation, I would say get your body moving, drink more water. Even adding a pinch of Celtic salt into your water can help with the minerals. And look at your lifestyle. Do you notice that you're more constipated after you're eating certain foods? And are you stressed? Do you feel like you're holding on to anything? Do you need to go outside and sit on the grass and do some deep breathing? Look at all these aspects and see what is actually working for me, and what do I feel like is causing this. And I would speak to a naturopath or somebody that you trust in the health space to help you if you're not getting the results that you want.
Sorry, well, it's not an overnight fix, is it? It's I'll answer Carol's question in a sec, but it's not, like, again, you can't go in the health shop and say, I'll have £20 worth of health and you fix that and everything's hunky-dory. There's so many layers and aspects to the body, spiritual, emotional, physical, that it's I don't want to use the word minefield, but it's like a whole system in itself, isn't it? That, like, again, it's a puzzle. Well, we start doing the water, and like I've been doing, like, lemon in my water you know, when I sleep at night, I always got a glass by the bed, and I've got lemon in the morning, and then I'll have a cup of hot water with a slice of lemon in, and I've taken. I always used to love black Earl Grey or Lady Grey, and I could always see the tannin left in the cup, and you know, I'd look at it and think about it. But anyway, I've taken myself off tea completely. Not that I drink that many a day. So I think, well, because obviously the tannin, you know, they used to use the tannin to color leather, didn't they? You know, and I was thinking, well, you know, if I go on drinking this, I wonder what color my insides are.
Yeah, that's right. But the lemon would have been beneficial in there, as in coming back to like Esther was saying about the bitter properties. So having the water and the movement and the fiber from lots of plant foods. So plant food, vegetable fibers are very good. They work in a couple of ways, because you're getting the actual fiber to help move everything through, but you're also getting the feeding of your microbes in the gut and in the balance, which their job is very important in digesting your food properly, so it is in the right form to pass through and to have a smoother bowel motion as well. So getting a variety, and especially some raw vegetables in there, especially to get the bitters, your bitter greens, your endives and your rocket, and get some ginger into your diet, be it in tea or in food or some sort of way there too. But the lemon, so the lemon in your tea would have been nice, but for a lot of systems, the lemon can be very beneficial, and the lemon is useful as well for the liver and helping with that stimulation of digestion and emulsifying the oils and fats and through the bile production. So especially if you don't have a gallbladder, or if your gallbladder is not working as effectively or as efficiently, then sometimes things like the lemon in the diet with the food can help, as well as being aware not to eat too many oils and fats at one time, because your body doesn't have a big store of that bile to help process it.
So what oils would you recommend people take? Because, you know, you've got 369 and you've got hemp oil and omega oil. There's so many oils, and I always think, well, you need to make sure you've got oil in your diet, because otherwise, you know, it's like a car. If you don't put the oil in, you seize up, don't you? So what, you know, especially when you get to the later stages of life, it's important that you know, you're taking your water, your battery is topped up, and all the things. So what oils would you recommend?
I mean, there's there's so many great oils. Obviously the ones that are high in omega-3s are really, really important. And I think there's a lot of controversy around them, that people often think, oh, if I'm having oil, I'm going to get fat. But actually, if we're having omega-3s, that's actually, the research shows that it's actually supporting weight loss and supporting healthy weight and metabolism. And so, I mean, you know, whenever you're going for an oil, I would always encourage you to go for something that's cold pressed, that's really processed well. Extra virgin olive oil that's cold pressed is really great. You know, I think also variety. So, you know, here at the clinic, I've got a little bit of walnut oil, and I'll sometimes drizzle that on my salad, and sometimes I'll do olive oil, and flaxseed is also another really great one. And there's a lot of oils in our foods as well. Like you think about chia seeds and nuts and things like that we're eating, they also contain a lot of oils. So I don't think there's one that's like the best oil to take. I think it's variety of oils are important, but obviously staying away from those saturated, highly processed oils and focusing on more of the olives and the walnuts and the avocados and the flax seeds and all of those kinds of oils that are doing much better things for your body.
So any other guidance or recommendations to, because obviously, you know, like, I suppose like detoxing for people, I'm not a great one for fasting, because I like my food and that's my choice. But I keep thinking, oh, one of these days I'll just do a 1-day fast. And I know friends have done like a week's fasting and all of that. So what was I saying? So, like, you know, some people have had to take different things for different reasons, and it wasn't for their highest good. So what else would you recommend, apart from seeing somebody, just general guidance along the way, to help people? Like, obviously we've mentioned the oil, obviously taking a slice of lemon in warm water is good. Any other suggestions?
For general bowel health and keeping everything
Yeah.
and generally, like Esther was saying, the movement as well. So whatever capacity that can be for you as well. That's something certainly good. They're probably some of the biggest things, getting the fibre, the lemon. Juices can be helpful in the right sense of if you can get some of those bitter foods into some of those juices and stimulate. So not just the slice of lemon, but you can use different foods. So some good digestive juices that you can have are things like celery, carrot, beetroot, ginger, a bit of a combo of those with a bit of green apple in it as well. Which is a nice digestive juice, and that would stimulate a lot of enzymes in different parts of the digestive tract and might just help move things along. But do remember to dilute your juice with water as well, because it is very concentrated, and it's sticking to something like that suggestion where there's more of the vegetable, not just a fruit juice where it's going to be super highly concentrated in sugars. You still get sugars from your vegetables, but not quite as highly concentrated in the fructose sugars there as well.
Another thing that people often do is have a lot of water with their meals. And this is actually a bit of a no-no, because what it does is it dilutes our stomach acid. So if you're eating food and you're just drinking cups of water while you're doing it, this is actually not doing great things for our digestion. So I often recommend people, if they're going to have some water, just take little sips and try and wait half an hour to an hour after you've had your meal to actually have a glass of water or have a drink of something, so you can let your digestive system do the work. Another thing that's really great as well is things like teas, like simple teas, like Jackie mentioned, ginger. There's also things like dandelion, which is amazing for the liver. It's also great for the gallbladder. I know we had a gallbladder question before. And also things like milk thistle tea. You've got things like apple cider vinegar, which for some people sits really well and helps, and other people it's a little bit too harsh. So you've also got to be careful of that. But simple things here, like having some ginger before your meals. And often we use drops with our, we have herbal extracts that we use, and we'll sometimes do some drops of ginger in a little bit of water before your meals to help to stimulate that digestion. So there's plenty of things that you probably have at home. If you're brave enough to go pick a dandelion plant and add some of that into your salad, just make sure you pick the right thing and don't poison yourself. But you can also put that in your salad, and that bitterness will really get those digestion juices flowing. And bitters are super important for your digestion and your health. But also, the guideline for optimal health is to eat 30 different plants a week.
30.
And so this can be in the form of plants or herbs. So anything that's kind of growing in the ground. And this actually is quite hard to achieve. But the research is showing that if we are trying to have much more of a diverse range of vegetables and fruits and plants, that our microbiome is much happier and healthier. And so that will keep us healthier into the long run. And another fun fact is that you're supposed to chew your food 30 times before you swallow as well, which I don't know if you've tried to do that, but once you get to 30, there's pretty much no food left in your mouth. And it's very challenging. I know I am not doing this myself, but I'm trying to be more conscious of how many times am I chewing my food. So maybe start small, maybe start with 10 and then go up from there if you're not chewing your food a lot. But this is where our food starts to break down in our mouth too, so that when it gets to the digestive tract, there's a lot of the work already done. And this then puts less pressure on our bowels and on all of our liver and our gallbladder and all of these other processes in the body as well. So there's some tips there as well.
And looking at holistic health, the other thing with the bowels is sometimes our bowels will be sluggish or will change when we are holding on to a lot of things. So if we're either really busy or if we're feeling a bit stressed as well. So doing something like deep breathing exercises like you would to relax muscles. And they're involuntary muscle contractions that happen in the bowel. You don't actually have a lot of control over how much they're contracting like you can with an arm or a leg muscle. But if you can do some breathing and relax your system, it can help sometimes just to allow everything to let go a little bit more, especially if you're busy or you've got things on your mind or you are going through a stressful period in your life as well, which happens to most people from time to time. And along with that side of things, while we're talking bowels, as naturopaths, we do love to talk about bowels and guts and digestions because it really is so important. It's where we put all our food and the information, a lot of information from our external environment goes in and is processed and helps to nourish and give information to what we want our bodies to do. I often use a bit of an old school analogy, which has changed a bit, of thinking of it like a computer. So if you're typing along on a computer and you make a couple of little mistakes, a spell checker will fix it up. So if you put a few extra things in, your body will sort it out, it can handle it. But if you just start hitting the keyboard randomly, you're not going to get the results you want from your computer. If you're putting in all sorts of things that your body can't recognize and doesn't understand what you're wanting it to do, essentially. It's a very simplified analogy, but it's a bit easier way to remember the simple, the fresh, and the natural things in our environment and in our food especially is the best thing for getting the results we want from our body, especially if we want it to be energetic and healthy and functioning and mobile for us. But with bowels, you can work on training your bowel as well. So sometimes if people are very busy and they might get an urge to move their bowels, they may not listen to that urge and may not be listening to their body. And over time, that can make a big difference as well. So retraining your bowels, giving them a chance to go when you do need to go, or just giving them the option at the same time each day to go as well can be helpful. And that is through that nervous system link and with our bodies and that different levels of emotional and physical connection. It can really make a difference, in the bowels is one area that can really reflect that, the skin and the bowels, that's for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. And even massaging your colon is really helpful too. So starting from the lower right side and massaging all the way up to the top of above your belly button, all the way down to the left side, and just giving that a really good massage can really help to move your bowels along as well. And castor oil packs are really great as well, if you've heard of those. You can buy them.
I was going to say about castor oil. Go on.
Yeah, you can buy them online, or I don't have one, but if I've ever had any issues with my stomach or pain or things like that, I've just popped some on my tummy and just put some paper towel or a tea towel around there and just let it sit. And that can be really helpful as well, not only for constipation, but like things like period pain, any kind of if you've got like bowel disease or those kinds of things as well, Crohn's, those kinds of things can really help to soothe that as well.
Right. Cloud Song is asking, what would you recommend food-wise for brain neuron change? There is a good reason why I asked.
Okay. I'm curious about the reason. So brain neuron change, I guess I'm looking at things to make suggestions of things that can help with brain neuroplasticity, might be what you're looking at, which is the adaptation of the neurons and how they can grow and change the directions that they're moving. So things that can help with that side of things from a food, again, probably looking at foods, things like your rosemaries, things like keeping inflammation at bay will help the body to have balance there. So things along particular pathways, rosemaries, turmerics, those sorts of foods can be beneficial for healthy brain function and healthy neuron development and adjustment. I'm not sure if that's answering the question, if there was a good reason why you were asking, but I hope it does help there. Other than it is important to provide just general balance, so things like proteins for repair and development in those neurons, getting your amino acid balance across the board. So if you are vegetarian, make sure that you are combining your proteins effectively to get the right balance and complete proteins of the amino acids in each different source of food. Okay.
Right. Since COVID, all my tastes have gone to being disgusting, even water.
That's no fun, because tasting food is a very good thing. It's certainly
Definitely.
that we love to be able to enjoy and to have. So, so I'd look at keeping, especially keeping inflammation at bay. So along the lines of you could try adding into your diet and in tea form things like rosemaries, turmerics, those sorts of food sources might add some benefit there as well. It would be individualized. Sometimes there can be particular nutrients to do with taste receptors that might be deficient as well. So,
right. What to take for COPD?
That's another complex one there as well. So, for COPD, probably that's one I'd probably want to know a bit more information about myself. I don't know, Esther, you might have some other generalized suggestions, but because it is quite a chronic thing there as well, just keeping moving to an ability depending where your lung function is at as well.
And sometimes things like heavy metals can also affect some of this, to do with your breathing as well. And so maybe looking at some liver detoxification, drawing out some of the heavy metals from your body as well. Sometimes like I was mentioning before, the histamine, sometimes if they're high as well, they can cause more of that obstruction in the lungs. And I know recently there's, at least in Brisbane, there's been a fair bit of respiratory virus going around, and a lot of people are having lingering lung symptoms. And so like Jackie said, look at the air quality, the air environment, look at really mindful breathing as much as you can in that process to get as much oxygen into your lungs as you can. Simple things like grounding outside with your bare feet can help to reduce that inflammation in your body and really help with that. But yeah, look at liver detoxification as well, and reducing heavy metals and histamines from the body could be an aspect to that. Yeah.
You could try for the lungs if there's a lot of heavy mucus that's there with the COPD as well. Sometimes a herbal tea combining things like thyme, ginger, and maybe a little bit of lemon if it's hard to lift the mucus as well can be beneficial and might help with some of the symptoms.
Yeah, and the turmeric, like Jackie was mentioning before, the turmeric is really anti-inflammatory, and the ginger and those things that are going to bring down that inflammation in the body. Sometimes vitamin D is really important too, like making sure you're getting enough sun, making sure you're getting enough vitamin D in foods, and then as naturopaths, we've got a lot of tools in our tool belt, so we use a lot of nutritional things as well and herbal medicines to support this as well.
Is there anything else you'd like to share before we go today?
I do.
Just one second.
Yeah.
I was going to say antibiotics, because so many people are being given antibiotics, and yet they do terrible damage. They remove all the good guys, don't they, out of the system, and then you've got to sort of build yourself up again and take probiotics and prebiotics and all sorts of things to build your gut back up. So do you find that's a problem? People come to you with, taking antibiotics, but it's not really, it's just done a quick effect on people, but it's not really got it out of the system.
Sometimes we find that we can add a lot more support there, depending on what's happening, what the antibiotic is for. But for instance, we were just talking about respiratory things. So if someone has a cough and a chest infection and they're taking an antibiotic, or if they've had recurrent lots of them and they're needing lots, that's probably more likely when they will come to see us. But we often can provide extra support, and that's what we love about our herbs and the synergy and the different actions that they can have. So not only is it about killing off the infection, but the herbs that we use can help to lift the mucus, so you're reducing your chances of secondary infection coming back again. They can also help with tonifying the tissue and helping you to recover better as well. So that's usually something we'll individualize, and there's not really a one-size-fits-all formula. It really is different for everybody. So I couldn't even give, other than the like a tea form, if you've got a bit of a cough, sometimes a bit of a thyme, ginger, lemon tea can be helpful. But sometimes a herbal tea is not quite enough, but the tea can be very nice, and it's a good place to start.
Yeah. And honestly, herbal medicine is so incredibly powerful. So that like the extracts that we use are at a really high potency, and that's why you have to be prescribed to them. You can't just go and buy them at the store. You know, I like in the past, I had a lot of sickness, especially around the time that I had chronic fatigue, and I was getting sick all the time, all winter. But obviously I've built up my body a lot since then. But anytime that I feel a sniffle coming on, or I feel run down, or I feel like I've got a fever coming on, if I take some herbs, I would say 95% of the time it doesn't come on. And we have people often call us who are sick, and they're like, can you please make me something? And we'll make a personalized herbal mixture depending on what symptoms they're experiencing, what's going on for them. Like Jackie was saying, if there's mucus, there's cough, if all of those things are going on. And so I would encourage people that if antibiotics is quite a normal thing for you to take, and it's your kind of your go-to, I would consider trying some other things as well, and allow antibiotics to be for those times that you really need it. And you know, things like Manuka honey is amazing as well, and so full of, it's nature's antibiotic, really. It does so many beautiful things for the body, and there's so many natural antibiotics that we can have through our food and through herbs. And so I would not always let antibiotics be your first port of call, but think about other ways. And it may take a day or two longer, and that's okay, for the long-term benefit of actually building your immunity up, rather than killing off a lot of those good bacteria that we have in the gut, because then we need to go in and do work to rebuild them up, and that can be a process as well. We absolutely can build them back up if you've had antibiotics, and we do that often with people. But yeah, it's always good if it's not your first port of call.
Brilliant, thank you. Okay, over to you, Jeffrey.
Yeah, I've been listening to you girls, and it's been a really fascinating subject. And I'm talking as a mere male here, because it's something that, you know, females are recognised as spending 70% of the household budget, and that requires them to buy the food and medicines and mothers are always watching their kids and making sure that they're all in a healthy state, and they probably know more about their child than the medical world. My point by listening to your show as a mere male is that I'm hearing about the food, and most of the food that you've been talking about is all from the vegetable world or the fruit world. And to me, it's actually Mother Nature's medicine chest. It's all got a high vibrancy that's, and we're participating in the food chain with a food that's basically alive, if I'm going to make that statement, as opposed to dead processed food with emulsives. And it's not really doing our cells any good. So, and it was really interesting to hear about using the cold pressed juice, the ginger, the turmeric, the rosemary, the dandelion. I mean, they're all natural products that are available for people, including the herbs that people can have in their own garden. We've got so used to I'm going to use the analogy of the McDonald's drive-through that, as Andrena says, we want our 20 pounds going from the health shop to fix us up. When your car goes in for a roadworthy, or over in the UK, it's an MOT, an annual MOT. So taking your physical body in for a check, and naturally I've come into you girls, and just getting the once over gives people the opportunity to bring the body back into balance. And there's a key word that you said in the subject there tonight was the pH level, and having the acid or the alkaline status of your gut. Do you want to share a bit more about the fact that, food, and well, we didn't even talk about sound, because Andrena loves sound as a vibrational medicine, and of course sound's being used to break up gallstones and kidney stones. But can you want to just elaborate a bit more on the vibrancy of nutritional food, as part of a natural health solution?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I don't know. We probably have both have bits to share on this, but like you said, there's different energy from foods as well, and we often look at this. So a classic example is ginger versus peppermint. Both can do very similar things in the body, but both have very different energetic makeups. The ginger is very heating, and the peppermint is very cooling. So depending on what's going on, one will be better for you than the other. And coming into the pH, I think we live in very acidic environments. Stress even causes acid in the body. We're exposed to chemicals and pesticides and all of these things all the time, which change our pH, our water, all of these things. And we're eating very acidic foods as well without really realizing it. So we're looking at the processed foods. We're looking at a lot of like high meat consumption. Even some of our vegetables and things like that are quite acidic as well. And so what we look at is what alkaline foods can we bring into the diet. A great one is spinach. Actually, adding a handful of spinach to your food can really help to alkalize it. And things like lemons is a funny one because it's acidy, but it actually alkalizes in the body. And so we're always looking at pH because it is a big issue, and even things like restless legs and reflux and these kinds of things can also be partly from an acidic environment. And as you probably know, a lot of disease can be birthed out of an acidic environment as well. And so we're always looking at how we can alkalize through our food, but also alongside that, stress reduction, good sleep, good water, all of these things to reduce that.
And that was something that we found, like Carol's put about acidic, like some of the soaps are very acidic, and the body washes and things.
Yes.
And you think it says natural, but they're not. When you look at the ingredients, you really got to check your labels if you really want to fine tune, what you're putting in from outside, let alone inside, eh?
Absolutely.
And I know I used to get, I've got a pack of pH strips, which I haven't done for a while, so I'll have to do, which I've done in the morning just to see, what color it is on to see how I'm doing, or whether I need to up more lemon or, more green stuff. That's always a good indicator, isn't it?
Yeah.
It does give you a good indication, and it's also important to realize that there's different parts of the body that are naturally designed to be more acidic or more alkaline than other parts as well. So for instance, we want good stomach acids when we want to break down and digest our foods, and there's other parts of the body that we do want that acidity at the right times. So using things like the lemon to encourage that acidity helps the food be broken down more efficiently, which helps the breakdown products to balance the pH in the body as it's absorbed further down the digestive tract as well.
Yeah. It is be educating yourself, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. And I want to just quickly mention something that you said before, Jeff, is like often whether it's males or whoever it is, sometimes it's you wait a long time until you get to that point. And I would encourage everybody that one of our naturopathic principles that we didn't touch on was prevention is better than cure. And don't wait until your body is having all of these big signs to actually do something about it. But yourself, start researching, start making a few little changes. Maybe go and see a naturopath and say, hey, like I'm feeling okay, but I just want you to check me over and see what's going on. Is there some things that I can be doing differently or better to set me up for health into the future as well? Because once you get to that state where your body is showing these big signs, it does take longer, and you may not always get 100% healing if it's been going on for a long time. And so we want to be able to prevent that before you get to that stage as well, and set you up for good health into the future.
You see a lot of males from about 50 onwards, and they all have they're all pregnant with their bare bellies, or what you want to call it. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, those type of fellas actually end up coming in and seeing you. I mean, do they start looking at their health, or? I mean, most guys will go to retirement at 65, and then within a short period of time, just kick the bucket, gone.
Yeah. No, we do see men, especially, well, not especially, but some men as they get older, some young men as well, for a number of different things. But you mentioned in particular men who might have that beer belly as such and come in because they're thinking, oh, where's this come from? What's going on? And there can be a number of reasons, and that can be, as people, like you said, you use the example of 50 plus, and we're looking at hormonal changes can happen around there. It's not the only thing. Obviously, we need to look at everything, but our bodies do change. Our bodies do go through different phases and different seasons, and they do change, and that's part of what we do need to adapt and adjust as our bodies are going through these different phases, so that they can stay as healthy as possible. It's part of the natural cycle of our health.
That's what I was leading on before. The females more open to go and see about their health, and males in terms of men's health. Men are not really.
We probably do see more
to
females, but we do actually see a few males, which is really great, and that's really encouraging to see that some are dragged along by females themselves, but some do come of their own accord because they want to feel better. They want to heal up skin rashes. They want their digestion to feel better. They want to get rid of the sore tummies that they've constantly got, or they might want to look at what's happening with changes in their body as they're getting older there as well. So we do see a few men in many different ways that we can help them to get their health and energy back.
So when they have a muffler problem, do you give them charcoal?
Again, it depends. That is something that's thrown into the mix of consideration. So depending on what's going on. So we know that the charcoal does absorb, so it can be used for some at least relief at the time from the symptoms there as well. But just making sure that it is all balanced, and that sometimes there's time limits on how long you want to use things for. If things are very good at absorbing what's in the body, sometimes that can absorb different nutrients as well, and we want to make sure that the nutrients are available for the body to be able to use as well.
Now, in Australia, the Vegemite, the little Vegemite song, and it's full of vitamin B, and having Vegemite on toast or Vegemite sandwiches. If you ask Andrena, when she first came to Australia, she was getting bitten all the time. She was just fresh meat for all the insects. But the Aussies who have been on Vegemite as kids, they never got the same results. But I was brought to my attention last Sunday that that's the wrong yeast that's in Vegemite. You need nutritional yeast. It's almost like a cheesy type flavour. What do you know about that particular product?
Yeah, I know it's great to use. So if someone's trying to avoid dairy, you can use your nutritional yeast. It can add that cheesy, like you said, cheesy type flavour to different dishes and things like that. But it also does provide a lot of different nutrients, especially a lot of your B vitamins there as well. Yeah, so that is a good
have it generally.
Right.
Yeah.
Oh, very good. There's a question coming up.
Have you tried the nutritional yeast?
What actually happened was it seemed to get stuck in your teeth and in your gums. I didn't actually put it on any salads or anything. I just put my hand in there and just put it in the mouth to build up its saliva, but it seemed to stick within the mouth. So it had a nice cheesy taste. I just had to get water and twirl it around and drink it. But it was quite nice actually.
The flavour, I've seen it used with to make your own dips and things instead of creamy-based spinachy dips. You can use the nutritional yeast in with spinach and different spices and herbs, and that comes out quite nice as like a dip option as well. Yeah.
Yeah.
Do 100. Cloud Song saying, do 100 sit-ups a day. Well, if you've got a large belly, you can't do a sit-up. Start off with a few.
And I think, like Jackie was saying before, often if there's a hormonal component, it can be very challenging to lose that weight, because we see a lot of men and women who kind of get to that 50 plus age group, and they're really struggling, especially with that fat around the belly, and struggling to lose weight there. And a lot of the time this is hormonal. So men, sometimes we do testing on men as well as women on their hormones, and sometimes it's a lack of testosterone and an increase in estrogen that can be a challenge for them. Even though they're working out every day, they're just not losing that belly fat, or they've also got excess breast tissue and things like that they don't want. And the same with women. There's a massive hormonal component to that menopausal weight gain a lot of the time as well. And so we work to balance those hormones so that you can effectively lose weight and be at a good weight.
Right. Was there Marlene says, can you give example of natural probiotics? But talking about that, I was told to take inulin. I don't know if you know it there. And it's lovely. It's 100% natural fiber. I don't know any more about it, but it's really sweet. And I think, wow. And I checked on the jar. I thought, well, what's in here that it tastes really nice? But I don't know what your thoughts on that, because I only came across it later.
Yeah, inulin is a great prebiotic. So it gets a bit confusing. We can talk about prebiotics and probiotics. And so the inulin becomes like a food for your probiotics, essentially. So it's also a good fiber source there as well. So great for that bowel balance.
Because that would be good for children, wouldn't it? Because it tastes nice. It really tastes nice.
And it can be naturally found in some different foods, so different herbs, chicory, and there's some different foods, even things like asparagus are a bit more rich in inulin and some of the prebiotic type foods. So back to, again, if you try to get a variety of different vegetables and foods, you can get some of these things. But if you do need a bit more, then it can help. There are some people who might take inulin, though, and it might upset them, because some digestive systems don't do well at digesting the inulin in the way that it's fermented, or can break down and ferment as a prebiotic in the system too. Back to every body is different.
You just talked about asparagus. So it's actually every time I go through the supermarket, I clock off, I don't see it. And now you bought it, I'll probably go and find it now. It's just like, you drive along and all of a sudden you have a RAV4, and all of a sudden every car's a RAV4. So, what's the benefits of asparagus then?
Sorry?
What's the benefits of asparagus?
I think of it a lot for digestive health is one of the things I think of it most, because it is a good source of those prebiotic fibers. Is there any other main things you use it with, Esther? Or?
Oh gosh, you stumped me on this one. It's hard to remember all the nutrients of all the foods off the top of your head. I can't remember.
What about radishes?
Radishes. Again, that nice bitter. Really great for the liver and the gallbladder. I often use it for that bitter component, really. And
my love for chocolate, so the dark chocolate that you get from Aldi stores. It's
good. Anything above 70%, I reckon, is the best, because it's lower in sugar and you're getting more of that cacao. Try and get as much of the natural chocolate as you can. But chocolate's great. It's also a really good source of iron as well. And we're not against chocolate for sure. Just getting a good quality chocolate. But probably coming back to that question on probiotic foods as well. So like Jackie said, there's prebiotics and there's probiotics. And I think a lot of the time people don't know what the difference is for that. And the probiotics are putting the good bacteria into the gut, and the prebiotics are feeding the good bacteria. And so as we put the good bacteria in, we also want to feed it so that it keeps growing and multiplying and staying healthy in our gut. And so those things like the inulin is a prebiotic, but a lot of people do have upset with inulin. We often use something called partially hydrolyzed guar gum. It's called PHGG, and we notice a lot more people don't have issues with that. It's a prebiotic. But then probiotics, you think about things like obviously your good quality yogurts, and if you're dairy-free, going for the dairy-free yogurts. Your sauerkrauts and any of your fermented foods are really great probiotics. What else, Jackie?
Fermented foods and kefins and things like that are probably the probiotic sources, because you've got those fermented bacterias. You can make your own yogurts and kefas and things like that if you want to not have extra added things. Again, coming back to labels, because people do want probiotic foods, sometimes there'll be probiotics added, but there can also be other things. Often you need to add a little bit of sugar to feed and to ferment to create those products, or some sort of a food source for the bacteria there. So there might be a little bit, but you can make your own as well, and you can make your own fermented vegetables, not just the sauerkraut, but a lot of different vegetables, or you can get them as well. So they're probably the main sources of probiotic foods.
Yeah, and something you can also do is if you have any probiotic capsules at home that you've got in your fridge or something, open up a capsule and tip it into your yogurt and give it a stir, because this again helps to grow that the probiotics to become even more in that yogurt, where sometimes they're not as high as we think they will be. So that's a little hot tip that I often do.
Right. Shame youngsters aren't educated more, as we throw away a lot of foods that are good for us, chopping the tops off different foods. Example, pineapple tops, blend it all. It's all anti-cancerous.
And broccoli stems. Broccoli stems are good. That's another one.
Yeah.
We should include all of the food, the whole food.
Because people chop the bit at the bottom, and use the top bit, but the bottom is just, you can put that in a soup mixer or something like that.
Or cook it a little bit longer, put it in a bit sooner and cook it a little bit longer to break it down.
And even like the cauliflower and the broccoli, the little leaves that are on it, you can steam these up, and they're quite bitter as well, so they've got that really great digestive component when you're eating your food. So that's another thing, you can steam that alongside what else is going on, and it's a nice little extra.
I went to the Chinese New Year on Saturday. For the girls know the place, and Andrena knows, but people from overseas wouldn't know. But we've got this massive Buddhist temple here, not all that far from us. And I went on Saturday, and I went to a tea meditation ceremony. And it was really quite fascinating, because the lady had 4 different teas on offer: Oolong, red tea. I never heard of red tea before. Green tea and high mountain tea. And high mountain tea come from the mountains in Taiwan. Anyway, so I said, can I have the high mountain tea? Anyway, part of the whole process was they have a little teapot, and they put in it's like a cracked pepper, and they put it in there, and then they put the hot water in it, and they've got a clock, 55 seconds, would you believe? And then they pour it out of the teapot, and they put it in a tea jug. Yeah. And then they're going to pour it. Anyway, so the thing is that you hold the little cup like that. It hasn't got a handle, so you can put your little pinky up. But they ask you to put your hand like this, and so you drink. And one is the protocols of, don't show people you're drinking through your mouth, but it's the nice aroma that when you go like that, it acts like a little thing, and you can then breathe in the actual aroma through your nostrils. It was really interesting little tea ceremony to learn about an aspect of having a high nutritional tea.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah, teas are amazing.
Anyway, it's on this weekend as well, so the Chinese New Year carries on down the road here.
Yeah, it's beautiful watching the ceremonies. I had one once, a Chinese tea ceremony, and it was so beautiful. I love how they often pour it over the cups as well to heat up the cup, and then such a
Yeah, that's
beautiful
right.
process. And the therapeutic teas, I think, are underestimated. There's a lot that a good cup of tea can fix, I reckon. And it's not going to give you a super high, dose of something. But often it's that gentle enough approach that it's going to help. And we often see this with young children and things like that too, because it's a lower dose, and we can use teas, certain types of teas and things for children as well as adults, to help to bring calming, help with their teething, and all of those sorts of things as well. Without having, where in our herbal extracts, they're a lot of the time distilled in alcohol, and sometimes people can't have that alcohol, and we have them in different things as well, juices and glycerin and those kinds of things. But teas are a great thing for those people, especially if you've got things like eczema and really reactive skin. Sometimes having tea versus an alcohol tincture can be a lot better for the body because it's not responding super well to the alcohol and things.
Well, we're blessed in Glastonbury. Excuse me. We've got a couple of health shops where we get, and I bought. I've been drinking rhubarb because I've given up tea, and I absolutely love it. So that's nice. And I bought dandelion roots and some. I forgot. I got all sorts out there, and I got my little teapot, so I let it brew. But we had dandelion tea the other night, and we have to simmer it for 10 minutes. But it was really delicious. I really enjoyed it.
Yeah. Was it the roasted dandelion that has a bit of a coffee-like taste?
No, it's just ordinary dandelion, but it was lovely. So I thought I'd get some more to take back.
Because you can
I
also
forgot to tell you, the 50 seconds was to allow those that high mountain tea to crack open. But what you told me, that if you carried on, it would then cook itself to the point that it'll lose all its flavour and becomes quite a thick tea. I didn't realise that was how important an aspect of drinking that type of tea.
Yeah.
Hey,
I wonder if the drinking with your hand over the top might have been to help hold, so that you were also getting some of the volatile oils from the plant as well. Sometimes that can be the case. Some teas are best brewed with a lid on top to keep all the active ingredients so they don't escape in the steam. So
I think there's another say, and I can't remember, but I remember reading somewhere saying, when you drink your cup, always drink with your hands like that, or around the cup. And I can't remember the reasons why, but it was sort of, it was recommended that you always hold your cup like that.
Interesting.
Yeah, and like Jackie was saying, for example, peppermint. You want to try and keep the lid on when you're brewing peppermint tea, because of those beautiful essential oils that are in the peppermint actually do really beautiful things for your gut sometimes as well, reducing bloating, all of those things. And if you let it all come out into the air, then you're missing a lot of that benefit.
Oh yeah, a bit like Crocodile Dundee when he in New York, and the guy's snorting coke, and he says, "Here, mate, do this," and he gets the hot water and puts it in the pot there and puts a tea towel over and breathe it in, mate. That gets rid of the sinuses. Listen, I just had a funny feeling here that we've got so much knowledge being shared, and people will be able to watch the show later on through the Facebook pages and the YouTube channels. But I'm going to give people a clue that if they go onto the Facebook pages, say they go onto Radio FM 88 Australia, or Dreaming the New Dream, or Andrena Forrest Facebook pages, and they go to the site, which would just will come up, and just click onto the page and click the right button. And it says copy link. Right now, when you do the copy link, then open up the browser and go to this particular page, and then put that link into the thing that says download, and then click download, and then you can then save it onto your download on your own computer on your hard drive. In other words, what I'm saying to you is keep the show on your own computer that you can then use as a backstory, because there is a potential there that we get the fun police who think that it's not in the interest of humanity to have this knowledge. So let's get the knowledge out there.
Yeah.
Anyway, Andrena, back to you.
No, that's it. So that's been lovely, girls. Thank you very much for sharing and all what you're doing. And there's you learn something each time, and we pick up little tips, and you know it's all helping everybody. Loose tea is better because bags are made partially with plastic, and I've heard that. So anyway.
But we love working with people of all ages and all different lifestyles, and we do in-person and telehealth consults as well. So if you're not local to us, you can also book an appointment with us as well. But if you're interested in working alongside us, we'd absolutely love that as well. So you can just head to our website. I know the link was up there, oliahealth.com.au, and find out more of the information on there as well.
Well, thank you, ladies. It's been absolutely a pleasure to have you on the show, and you're both glowing with radiant health. So obviously what you're doing suits you. So thank you once again, and it's been an absolute delight. So, and thank you everybody for listening in and for your questions. And you can contact the girls if you want to know anything else. And otherwise, same time, same place next week.
Thank you.
Thank you for having us.
That's very good. That's what life's all about, isn't it? It's about sharing the knowledge.
Yes, absolutely.